Should you buy the dip? What's going on, guys? It is Ahmed, and I am here today to talk about Atossa therapeutics, something that has been highly requested and sought after. People have been asking for the pharmacist perspective, which I will do a deep dive in just a moment. But as always, guys, thank you so much for supporting the channel, and please feel free to join the free Discord below. Again, it's completely free. Come in, I talk about my stock picks, I talk about things that I'm interested in, and we also have great dialogues in the Discord. So please feel free to join us. We have a good time. Again, all I ask is for you to be friendly, come in, and just be respectful of everyone else. And also, please use my link below if you want to start trading in the pre-market or the aftermarket, if your current brokerage doesn't allow that. Webull does, and that's why I personally like to use Webull, because sometimes, if I hear about a stock the day before, I like to get in on it first thing in the morning, especially if it's one that's more under the radar. You do get 4 free stocks if you use my link below, and $100 as long as you deposit $100. Now, let's go ahead without further ado, get into Atossa therapeutics. Again, this is not financial advice, nor am I a financial advisor, but I'm just letting you guys know what I am doing with my certain stock picks. And so you can either follow the ride, follow the journey, or, do what you got to do. So, Atossa therapeutics, guys, this is an early stage therapeutics or biopharmaceutical company. But again, the key word here is early stage. I know there's been a lot of excitement and hype around it because I think it's been covered by a few other YouTubers, according to what the Discord individuals have been telling me. So again, I'm not here to, take advantage of that by any means, because this has been covered, last week, previous weeks. But today it had a pretty significant dip, which I always say, if you believe in a company, a dip is a buying opportunity. At the end of the video, I will also cover JAGX and SPAC merger news. That's hopefully going to be announced tomorrow. So let's go ahead and get started. So Atossa therapeutics, they're covering 2 things basically on their pipeline, and the 2 things that they're focused on as a company are treatments for breast cancer, specifically the topicals that interest me. They do have some orals, but the topicals, again, topicals being something you can just rub on directly, and the COVID nasal spray. So again, when I say early stage biopharmaceutical company, these are in preclinical phase 1 or phase 2. Not in phase 3, no NDA, no new drug application submitted, and again, nothing commercialized yet. So of course that's going to put some flags when we talk about it, because when it comes to revenue, if you don't have a commercialized product, you're not going to be bringing in revenue, obviously. So again, endoxifen, again, something similar to, you might have heard of tamoxifen. That's that's a standard of care. And they use that for people or individuals who have breast cancer, or those who are currently recovering or in remission, as again an estrogen blocker is basically what they are. They reduce estrogen because we know oftentimes specific hormones are what can cause potential relapses, specifically estrogen, and things like breast cancer. So the thing that I'm most interested in about this endoxifen is that they have topical formulations for females and males. So for males, it's the gynecomastia. So gynecomastia is additional fatty tissue that accumulates around the male's breast tissue and breast area. And then for females, mammographic breast density. So oftentimes as a biomarker, and again, I'm not a financial advisor, nor am I a medical advisor, but mammographic breast density is kind of something that is looked at. If there's the more density there is, so you want a reduction in density, which is a good thing. But if an area of a mammogram is more dense, that is a potential sign that it could be either precancerous or lead to breast cancer in the future. So this is a very specific and powerful biomarker. You see it says Sweden there, but again, a powerful biomarker. It's in Sweden because that's where the phase 2 clinical trials are being conducted currently. So guys, this is early stage. Let's go on the FDA site. The FDA, if you go on their website, you can go in and it can tell you all about clinical trials and clinical research. But if a company's in phase 1, we know that usually takes several months to get through phase 1 clinical trials. Phase 2 can take several months to a couple years. Phase 3, also 1 to 4 years. And then, phase 4 is not really a must, but that's when you finally submit your NDA. I don't mean this to be a bear, because again, ATOS, Atossa Therapeutics, I will be 100% transparent. I have a stake in this company. I have bought some of their stocks because I truly believe over time it's going to be exciting, especially with the COVID nasal spray. That is something that can maybe get potential emergency use for patients. Again, because of the COVID pandemic, a lot of the FDA is allowing people to submit things that are COVID related to get potential emergency use, which allows it to get commercialized a lot quicker, an expedited process. So when it comes to those clinical research, the study periods that I've mentioned for phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, those aren't necessarily accurate if something gets emergency expedited emergency use from the FDA. Now, when we look at, that's the COVID nasal spray. The others, I don't foresee that happening. It's possible, but it's not very likely because, again, when it comes to cancer, we already have a pretty good standard of care, and they're sure this is innovative, and I think there's some strong potential. After reading some of the trials, I was pretty impressed. But for the time being, I'm not sure if they would get expedited. It's not going to go through any expedited process. Rather, they're going to go through the typical phase 2, phase 3, and then NDA application process. But the COVID nasal spray, you need to keep that in mind because that's what I think is pretty big. So they talk about it's AT301. They don't really talk about the mechanism of action in detail, but they say they want to decrease symptoms. It's a take-home nasal spray to reduce, sometimes something that is looked at in the ICU setting. In articles, if you look it up online, you'll see something called ventilator-free days. So the more ventilator-free days you can give a patient from something that they're using for prophylaxis or a medication that they're actively using via IV, whatever it might be, ventilator-free days, the more you have of that, so the less time they're on one, that is a good thing. That's something we do want. So again, that's one of the things that they're looking at with this COVID nasal spray. So keep that in mind, very, very important. Now, the other things with their topicals, of course, it's topical, and topical applications are favorable in our market. People would rather rub something on their body instead of taking something orally or through any other invasive. So orally, obviously not invasive, but if you're going to give something subcutaneously over the fatty tissue or intravascularly, whatever it might be, someone is going to take a rub-on over those, as long as it's not, going to cause them to have, weird rashes, that kind of thing, because that's oftentimes what's seen with topical formulations, unfortunately. Dermatologic side effects. So again, there's more about the side effect profiles that you could look into, but the reason I just am bringing these up is because I'm looking at Atossa as a potential buying opportunity with the dip that we're seeing today. Now, I looked over the investors and I looked at their financials, guys. The financials are what's concerning. Now, again, I don't want to be a bear because this is something that I have a stake in, and I truly think that they have, a strong future. And they did do a direct offering beginning of January for $20 some odd million, excuse me. But the big thing that you need to look at is when I looked at their SEC filing for their quarterly report, this is again end of Q3, so November 20th. They have this paragraph here, and they mentioned that they have no commercialized products. They currently have no revenue or cash flow. So there's always a concern when we think about this is A, can they go bankrupt or not have enough money to continue their research and development? Or can they have some pretty significant data that they'll show, which, let's go back a second to the previous screen. Can they show some data to somewhere, somehow, to get, information out there that excites investors to invest into the company? For Atossa, they're actually going to be presenting at a pretty important conference, guys. So we have to remember that. And let's see, I will find that here. I'll come back to that. But regardless, they are going to be presenting at a infectious disease / therapy, more medical conference. And within that conference, Dr. Fauci is going to be there. So it's going to be somewhat reputable and respected because we're going to have big names like Fauci, again, leader of infectious disease here in the United States, previous FDA. I don't know. You can look up the credentials for Fauci. He's on the Biden team. Big guy, been telling us all what to do with this whole pandemic, even though we haven't been doing the best job. But hopefully we're going to see a turnaround soon. Regardless, Atossa Therapeutics, guys, I'm pretty excited about this company. I don't want to drag on too long with the video, but keep this one on your radar because I truly think what we're going to see soon, especially with the conference, we might see some positive data that might excite investors to be early adopters. Let's look at the price action. So if you look at the 5-day, the company peaked at about $3.76. Because again, there was a lot of excitement, people saying, wow, this is actually doing pretty well. So even if you look at, like in just a few days span, it went up 100% in price. Came back down 30% today, a little bit up in the aftermarket. But since its peak early this morning at 376, has come down 30%. If you truly believe in a company, even if it's a penny stock, and you think they're going to do well, what do I say is you're going to buy the dip. So if you think what you see after you do your own deep dive on Atossa Therapeutics, if you think it's a reliable and sustainable company that you think they're going to do well over time, you're going to buy the dip. But also realize, guys, that Atossa Therapeutics, it's at a pretty high risk for doing direct public offerings because, again, they don't have cash flow. So if they see significant price action with their stock, as the company, as researchers on their team, obviously they're going to liquidate some of their shares, dilute some of their shares to give some cash flow so they can continue doing their R&D. So expect that, and that's what I'm saying. If you don't believe in the company long term, don't waste your time with it because you're going to see ups and downs. But if you do believe in it long term, I think we're going to see significant price action over time. It might take some time, but it's going to, I truly do believe in it personally. Now, what do the analysts think? So Jason McCarthy, we know this guy. He's the one who predicted $14 for BNGO. He's the one who a lot of people have been looking into as someone who's pretty good at predicting, and selecting 258 out of 400 ratings were successful for this guy, which is a decent track record, 65%. So he's 65% hit versus miss. Pretty respectable. So again, if we look at the 12-month forecast, he says $5, and another guy also says actually $7, so even higher. So they're both considering it a moderate buy, not too strong, but again with $5 targets. But depends. If we hear good news when it comes out, when they again announce some of their data and the results, when they present these things at these big conferences, those can be potential catalysts for these biopharmaceutical companies. So always remember that. All right, guys. So Atossa Therapeutics, keep it on your radar, keep it on your watch list. I'm keeping it on mine. I did buy the dip, and if you truly believe in a company, of course, as always, like anything, if you saw Apple go down to $90, $80, $70, you're going to see that as a buying opportunity. So again, do what you got to do. I can't tell you whether to buy or sell stocks, but I'm just here to inform you all. JAGX, Jaguar Health. Jaguar Health, guys, one of my favorite companies. So I bought in, again, we talked about it, about $1.70. Just since then, it's pretty much doubled in price. We saw it actually at the 52-week high. It was a little over $4, but it's kind of come trickling down a little bit here at about 20%. Actually, that's pretty significant if you bought the peak. But anywho, the big thing is tomorrow, I need you all to keep this on your watch list because there's this potential SPAC merger that is going to happen with Napo Pharmaceuticals. That's one of their direct subsidiary companies. So again, Investor Place here has a little bit of a article that you can read through. But if this SPAC merger, one of the 4 rumors that I've been keeping in mind and telling you all to keep in mind as well, if this goes through and Jaguar Health, the company allows, basically if they link with a SPAC, that's going to be pretty big news, not for Jaguar Health, but Napo Pharmaceuticals, which will propel Jaguar Health stock forward, up higher. So again, I truly see that there's going to be some potential there. So please, please, please keep JAGX on your radar for tomorrow with the news. If it is announced, that's going to be a catalyst and it's going to potentially cause the price to go up. So as always, guys, do your own research. I'm just here to inform. Please comment down below what you think of JAGX and ATOS. A lot of people have been asking about them. And until next time, keep investing.